Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In some previous videos, Matt and I have shot various calibers through different wall configurations. Out of that came an interesting comment from one of our viewers about whether or not we've ever shot at walls utilizing ballistic gel to see the lethality of it after it travels through a wall. We thought that was a heck of an idea, and out of that sprang the idea that we would like to try and do some experiments with frangible ammunition while we do it. For those of you that may not be aware, frangible ammunition actually has a lengthy history throughout the United States. It's at least 60 to 70 years old, and it actually began in shooting galleries in state fairs and the like. Frangible rounds are made with a process called powder metallurgy, where you simply take a metal like copper and sometimes tin, and you form it with a process into some shape, in this case, the shape of a projectile. The theory behind frangibles and why they were popular at shooting galleries was because as soon as it hit steel, it disintegrated back into powder. Sometime later, some people theorized that maybe that would be advantageous to close quarter battles inside, where they would stay in walls, and when they hit something substantial, they don't overpenetrate, and it's maybe a little safer way to train. About that same time, indoor ranges started to get into the frangible idea because you can shoot steel at closer range much more safely, and it's a little better for the environment not having all of that lead around. So basically what you had is something that began in an amusement park that began to have a bunch of different other applications. Now, when I did the research for this video, I thought it was interesting all the statements out there that a lot of people don't believe frangible rounds are lethal in any regard, whether they hit something substantial or not. I don't think that that's what we're going to find, but to begin today's video, we're going to actually fire one into some gel block with the FBI testing criteria and see how lethal it actually is. The ammo I have today for that demonstration is from Norma, 65 grain frangible for 9mm, and we'll see after they travel through some walls what exactly does happen. Frangible, kind of an odd looking little dude. See how it does. As we said, this is the FBI testing criteria gel block that's dressed. Fairly violent reaction with the gel. I'm going to go downrange, weapons empty, and see. So this is 16 inches of gel block, of course. It exited. You can clearly see that it did, and it left one heck of a cavitation pattern the entire length of the gel block. So I would tell you, definitely lethal at this range with the FBI criteria. No truth to the fact that it's not. Trust me, it is. Before we continue the video, I'm going to kind of give everybody a brief introduction to the setup that I have. I've constructed what would normally be considered residential construction. I have OSB, a little bit of siding. In between the stud pockets, I do have styrofoam insulation and 1/2-inch drywall on the back side, what you would typically find in most residential construction. So then I have a gel block that will continue to move as we decide how many rounds or how many walls the bullets will actually penetrate, and then into the gel block. This is a mock-up of an interior wall. It has 1/2-inch drywall on both sides and an empty stud pocket, so we don't have to deal with whether or not it hits structure wood and ricochets. We've done those videos in the past, and they tear up studs pretty bad, so you want to catch those videos, you can. But these stud pockets are empty, and we've spaced them out so that they kind of simulate a normal room, say a bedroom, around 12 to 15 feet. And then this is the simulation of a small hallway. So we went through 1, 2, 3 now interior walls, terminating with interior wall on this side and exterior on the outside. Once again, with OSB and a little bit of vinyl siding. Once again, insulated. So I'm more than curious to see how far this will go and still be lethal, perhaps all the way, but we're about to find out. For this part of the demonstration, I'm just going to load one of the frangible rounds into my Canik, fire it into the exterior wall, and see if the exterior wall is actually substantial enough to turn the round into powder, or will it pass through? If it doesn't, we're also going to try to find out how far into the home it could potentially penetrate. So, here we go. We've removed the gel block just to do sort of a ballistic test onto the wall, and because that's true, I'm going to aim up just slightly. So it left a neat circular hole on the exterior. Did appear to penetrate into the OSB some. Oh boy. And it looks like it did exit here with a substantial opening. And potentially stayed intact. Note slightly farther down trajectory-wise. These tables are roughly the same height. Nice round punch there. And then, of course, an exit. So for right now, my instinct is not substantial enough to keep you from being injured quite badly, at least with drywall and OSB, which does make sense. If we recall, that round was originally designed to impact steel, not structure wood or drywall. So our next wall is clean, but as you can see, the downward flight path that the bullet is incurring, it probably spit it out on the floor somewhere before the previous wall or the next wall. So this will be somewhat the same demonstration, difference being we put some gel block behind the first exterior wall. Not really sure if we're going to be able to impact the gel block squarely or at all, so this might take a little bit of hunt and peck to figure out the exact trajectory of the round once it goes through the exterior. I see smoke in the distance. Not sure what that means, but we're going to find out. Impacting the exterior put the bullet on an upward flight path this time, so we did not impact the gel. I'm going to see if I can give this another go. So, as a matter of physics, it's impossible for us to determine where the bullet is going to exit and then actually have that in relation to the gel block, so we've missed it a lot. So what we've done is move the gel block right up to the drywall. So if you're leaning on the wall, we'll see what happens. It's just too hard to predict where the bullet is actually going to end up on the flight path. So once again, we've backed the gel right up to the drywall on the far side. Let's see. So that worked. Oh yeah. Now you can see right here, this projectile is relatively intact. It did not powder. It did not do anything that maybe you would expect it to, which we kind of knew from penetration from before. And that dude is rock solid and absolutely would have had enough penetration to pass FBI test. Now, problem being, it's not designed to mushroom. So, is this preferable? Is this acceptable? I suppose it depends. What we're going to do next is run a hollow point through there from Hornady and see what kind of reaction we get with the same demonstration. So for the first part of the hollow point demonstration, I'm going to do what I did with the frangible, is I'm just going to run one through all the sections of the wall and see how far it'll go without being encumbered by the ballistic gel. So easy peasy. You notice I very carefully marked these so we can tell them apart. So I'm going to mark this hollow point. Good here, but all looky. Maybe it put it on the downward path. The other wall was clean when we did, this wall was clean when we did the frangible examination. And then you can see on this wall how we bite into structure wood. So as you can tell, it seems like the trend, regardless of frangible or hollow points, is once it impacts enough substantial objects, she starts to nosedive because it's losing speed, of course. So interesting note here, that hollow point went straight through the 2x4. And I can tell you, those are 2x4s that we use when we receive material in at the warehouse. Those guys are substantial. This is not white pine, it's yellow pine and extremely dense. Do with that information what you will. So to continue the demonstration with the hollow point, I'm going to actually try to fire it into some ballistic gel once it's been into and through the exterior wall. Sort of a mimicry of what we did with the frangible. Try to come up or down just a bit. And it looks like you can see a very pronounced thin line and one of the coolest looking cavitations right here after almost 12 inches of penetration. There's like a big mushroomy little thing. You can tell that the gel is disrupted, and of course it exited out right here. So our hollow point after leaving the gel block did not strike this wall. Now, from the looks of things, you can tell on the gel block that it's moving roughly in this direction, so it probably missed the wall. It didn't have enough power. It had plenty of power to get there. It just missed it somewhere over here from the angles of things. So for those of you who are watching carefully, it didn't die. It just was diverted off of the drywall. We're going to do the same demonstration with a range round, ball round, 115 grain from ZSR that you would typically use for your range sessions. And we're going to try to determine, without being encumbered by the gel block, how far this guy will penetrate. And hopefully I don't hit the camera at the end of the range. This will go high down the middle, hopefully. So this is the entry for the ball round. Thank you. Ball, notice it's staying a little straighter. It did drop some, but not as much as the hollow point or the frangible. Already marked. Clean drywall. From the looks of things, it probably fell down somewhere here. So, interestingly enough, it would appear that unless your shooter is shooting at the ceiling as it travels through your house, it does have a negative impact on the bullet energy. It dives immediately. That round would easily be accurate at 25 yards, and we're making it maybe to 17, 18 yards from the point it was fired before it's in the dirt. So interesting finding there. So I'm going to repeat that demonstration, this time keeping the point of aim a little bit higher. This is ball. This is ball. This is ball. Ball. And did in fact make it all the way through, which is kind of what we wanted to see. I did angle the shot up some to make sure we could repeat this or at least demonstrate it. So we have our exit here on our final exterior wall. What's interesting about these demonstrations is it's not so much that the bullet loses power It's just, it's diverted up, down, left, or right in areas that's impossible to predict. But I can tell you, if the gods line up against you, this is extremely lethal through your house, even if you're standing on your back patio. This is a bad day.